everyone, and welcome back to Fae Fire. Today we are going to discuss one of the biggest phenomena, and yes, I will call it that, in recent Arthuriana brought to us by Cursed, the theory of Nimulot. If you are unfamiliar with this concept, this is the ship dynamic between Nimue and Lancelot in Cursed that about 90% of the fandom have already decided is happening, whether Tom Wheeler has it planned or not. So why is this theory so popular? These two characters have not even met in Cursed, and even throughout Arthurian legend, the relationship between Lancelot and Nimue is usually more of a parental connection. Some legends include Nimue adopting Lancelot, or Lancelot being Nimue's father, or the pair being enemies. To my recollection, there's not been a tale of these two as love interests, but Cursed is an altogether different story. Nimue is presented as our main protagonist, and very often throughout Arthurian legend, Nimue becomes evil, corrupted by power or magic. In Cursed, she starts out as a strong-willed young lady, daughter to the archdruid of their clan, but we can already see the sword of power changing and influencing her as Merlin warned. Will this set her on an evil arc? Lancelot is introduced as the Weeping Monk, the most terrifying soldier of the Red Paladin army. He's already corrupted, being groomed from a young age that the Fae are evil and must be eradicated, all while using his natural skill as a weapon against his own kind. Father Cardan manipulated Lancelot's young mind and molded him into a killing machine, but where we are left in Cursed, he recognizes how his mind was poisoned and that he must protect the Fae as their greatest warrior. Though Nimue and Lancelot have not met face to face, you can see the parallels to their arcs, but running on opposite trajectories. Let's explore a few more things these two have in common. Both bear scars on their backs. Both have childhood trauma. Both have lost their parents. Both have father issues, Nimue with Jonah and Lancelot with Cardan. Both have a hot temper, and both hear the voice of the hidden. Both Nimue and Lancelot have suffered the loss of their parents and childhood trauma. Nimue barely survived the attack by the demon bear when she was a small girl, and afterwards her clan and her father Jonah rejected her, believing she was possessed by some dark god. She was an outcast, and Jonah left the family when Nimue was 12, breaking her already fragile heart. We don't know what Lancelot endured as a child, but he was abused and manipulated by Father Cardan, only serving him to save his own life. We saw a brief scene in episode 1 of a young Fae boy, and many speculate on if that was a flashback of Lancelot. I don't think it was, but it does give us insight on what he may have survived. What was it that Father Cardan saw in him that was different? What made him spare the young weeping monk? Another character intertwined in this story is Squirrel. He also suffered the loss of his father, Colliac, when the Red Paladins attacked Dudan. Did you catch that name? Colliac sounds very much like Galahad, who is a very famous knight of the Round Table. Galahad is best known for being the Grail Knight, and often dies in pursuit of this quest, becoming the Grail Guardian. In other stories, he is related to Lancelot, or even his son. Percival was the original Grail Knight, but his story went unfinished, which leaves room for his ending to be explored. These three characters are ultimately interwoven into Grail mythology in Arthurian literature. But alas, Colliac died, and Percival is now traveling with Lancelot to, we aren't exactly sure where, but it is clear that Squirrel needs a guardian to guide him. He's a rambunctious young man when left to his own devices. In the book, his mother was best friends with Lenore, so Squirrel and Nimue were very close. Will Nimue fill the role of his mother, while Lancelot takes on a fatherly position? And will this drive Squirrel and Lancelot to search for Nimue? And does this put Nimue in the position to be the Holy Grail? There have been other stories where the Grail is a person or bloodline, so perhaps, if my theory is correct, Nimue does descend from Boudica's line, and it is the sacred bloodline that must be protected. Is the Sword of Power the physical Grail, while a bloodline must keep and protect it, as we have seen in many Arthurian legends? Perhaps this plays into Merlin's betrayal of the Fae and why they do not trust him. And so by searching for Nimue, as neither of them know she is quote-unquote dead at this point, are Percival and Lancelot on a Grail quest without even knowing it? Once they do find Nimue, what sort of changes will have happened to her? How will she react to Lancelot? This is one of the biggest questions about the future of the story. Will the Weeping Monk survive the trials of the Fae to become their greatest warrior? In one of Nimue's visions, we see a hand reaching through what looks to be a fusion of vines and branches, imprisoning someone within, like we saw her do to the paladin who attacked her. I suspected it might be Merlin, but what if it is in fact Lancelot? What if Nimue is blinded by her anger and near-death experience, unwilling to trust a servant of the Red Paladins, and as punishment, she imprisons Lancelot? Many people believe it is through Squirrel that Nimue and Lancelot find a common ground and begin to build a relationship of trust. Both are the surviving saviors of the Fae. Gawain saw this in Lancelot, and ultimately his belief in the strength of his Fae blood overpowered the abuse and manipulation Lancelot had endured through his years of serving Father Cardan. In Squirrel, he found his purpose, and his own fatherly and protective instincts kicked in to protect a child with his own level of tenacity. Father Cardan is dead, and now Lancelot must be the father, but to the Fae kind. We see similar struggles for Lancelot throughout Arthurian literature. He is a character steeped with inner turmoil. He struggles with religion, with his heritage, with his sexuality, with fatherhood, and with loyalty. He always wants to do the right thing, but the right thing for who? Squirrel may remind Nimue of the misperceptions she herself suffered from the skyfolk judging her at such a young age. She never asked for the attack she suffered and was treated differently from that day forward. She may be reminded of her own scars when she sees the scars Lancelot bears on his own back too. If Lancelot can be trusted to help the Fae, the pair can be a power duo, regardless of a romantic relationship. Nimue needs to be able to focus on her magic and her power. In many Arthurian tales, Nimue imprisons Merlin to steal his knowledge, his magic, or manipulates him into giving her the information and then uses it to her own ends. This typically ends up in a culminating battle with King Arthur and how Nimue becomes Lady of the Lake. If Nimue is able to focus on her magical strength, Lancelot could be the warrior to the Fae that he is destined to become. Can you imagine Nimue harnessing the power of the hidden while Lancelot fights with the sword of the Fae kind? We can absolutely see the destinies of these two characters come to life. We were even shown in the original trailer for Cursed a clip of Lancelot picking up the Sword of Power just before being knocked backwards into the water. This portion of the trail has been exhaustively analyzed by the fandom, and in conclusion we have decided: Nimulot. Another aspect of this theory would of course be the Colliac storyline. Morgana is connected to the Colliac. She was visited by the spirit and possessed by her when she took the spider into her mouth. The legend of the Colliac includes the tale of Breda and Angus. Angus was the son of Colliac Bera, and he fell in love with Breda, or Brigid, or Brige, who was a spring goddess imprisoned by the Winter Queen. Breda and the Colliac battle for dominance over the seasons, and Angus helps Breda escape from her wintry prison. Angus and Breda were called the King and Queen of Summer and Plenty. With Morgana taking on the role of the Colliac, there are many indications pointing to Nimue being her seasonal counterpart and potentially taking on the role of Breda, or Brigid. In this, will we see Lancelot take the role of Angus? At some point, will Morgana take Nimue prisoner, and will Lancelot have to help her escape? I do love this part of the Nimulot theory because what other reason would there be to introduce a Colliac figure into the story other than to flesh it out with the full tale? The Colliac actually does not feature in the book yet, so it will be interesting to see where Tom Wheeler wants to take this idea. Lancelot has struggled with hearing voices poisoning him, telling him he is the Dark Angel, but those are likely the voices of the hidden, guiding him the way they do Nimue. He fights their advice, assuming it is the devil whispering in his ear, but truly, the hidden cannot abandon their child and watch over him like they do Nimue. If he learns to hear what they are telling him, could the hidden be guiding him towards becoming the Fae King, as Nimue became the Fae Queen? But what do you guys think? I'll be honest, I was not on the Nimulot ship right away, but with enough great fan art and really putting these pieces together, the pair do fit very well together. They are on the same trajectory, but on opposite arcs. Nimue may become the dark and evil character, while Lancelot goes from the darkness to the light. It is similar to many other stories we know, an elemental love story, water and fire. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!